Welcome back to the Detailed Barber Club podcast, where here we share resources, inspiration, and motivation to help barbers maximize their earning potential. You want details? Let's dive in. My name is Ray Lucas. I'm gonna be your host for today and foreseeable future until we start rolling some guests up through this thing. So, I want to talk about a few things today, and it all has to do with the way the industry is trending and some things that I see, notice, heard throughout my career, and some things that need to change and some things we just gotta do better at. So we gonna roll right into it. We're going to start with talking about the miseducation and the false information of the barber game. Now, I ain't trying to shame nobody. I ain't trying to really step on nobody's toes like that. But if it happened to make you feel a certain kind of way, I hope it's to promote and inspire some change and inspire you to do better. So we're going to talk about the education part, and you will be surprised if you pull up and fact check barbers on the history of barbering, like how much that they really are not aware of, or it seemed to escape them. Like for one, like the history and even knowing how barbering began and what services did barbers provide besides cutting hair. Like, when did barbering become its own thing aside from those other things that barbers used to have to do, such as, things in the medical field and stuff like that? Like, even knowing where it began, like most barbers couldn't even tell you that barbering, started centuries back in like ancient Egypt. Also, knowing the origin of the barber pole and the colors of the barber pole. So it's things that barbers have to tap into and like keep fresh in their mind, because if you don't know, I don't think you should be able to call yourself a professional anything if you don't know the history of that profession. I think that's like super important, and a lot of people tend to overlook that. Like, if you're a doctor, you should know some history of being a doctor. If you're a musician, you should know the history of music and artists and different sounds and stuff like that. So I think in order to call yourself a profession in any industry, you should at least know the history of it. And I think like when most barbers, when they finish school, I think they tend to abandon a lot of those foundational things that make up the profession. It's like I just find that to be kind of disrespectful. And I think most barbers you ask who take the craft serious would think the same way. Another thing that I want to talk about is like the social media aspect of it, and how it have people really blind to what it actually is and what it really takes to grow and be successful in this business. Like the flashing lights and the glamour and the glitz of it all, it got people fooled to where you become blind to what it is, and not just looking at it as this is a part of a product, and people get caught up into the whole flashing lights thing of it. And it's cool. I know everybody got they particular barbers that they like, and you like what they post, they pictures and they videos and reels and stuff like that. And you like, man, I want to be like that too one day. And I think that's fine. You should absolutely have aspirations to be good or to be the best in any field, and especially in the barber field, because that's what we're talking about. But you have to understand the stuff that people went through to get where they at. Like, do you actually know their story? Do you actually know what they went to for them to become them and for them to be placed in this position where they're seen by a lot of people? So most people have this false idea like you could just jump out there and you could start posting and people gonna automatically just be drawn to you. But just like Rome wasn't built in one night, neither will your presence. And my thing is, and what I always say is, you want to be the best you can be, like constantly. And I always say this: work on your skill set. Your skill set and how hard you go at that is what's going to be able to help you separate yourself from just the typical person out here doing this, because it's a million of us and not everybody is going to be seen. Barbering won't make you rich, but it can be a lucrative business if you stay focused on what it is you're trying to do. Like working on your skill set, you cannot go wrong if you level up your skill set, and that leads into like just having a lot of opportunities to do things like you never even imagined. So don't let the social media part fool you, because it's not real. Everything you see on social media, it ain't real. Like, you only getting the highlights of stuff. You don't get the behind the scenes. You don't get all the hard work that goes into making a person who they are and how they got to where they at right now. So take your time, take your baby steps, and don't be fooled by everything you see. It's not real. So how many times have you seen a person do a haircut on social media, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, whatever your favorite social site is, and you say, man, I want to do that. I want to be able to get my stuff to look just like that. And then you go practice it, because that's what I used to do. I used to use what I seen on social to help me get better. Now, me knowing better, when I see a picture, because of the way it look, I can tell when something is manufactured outside of the barbershop. So I'm talking about like Photoshop and stuff like that. But I would use looking at those pictures and knowing what went into it after the service to help me get better. So if I could get my work to look close to what that airbrush picture looked like, because at the end of the day, that's what it looked like. Stuff be looking airbrushed and artificial. It got a little better when it first started. Like Photoshop haircuts used to be insane, and people bring them pictures into you and want you to get it to look just like that. So I used to use that as my scale to help me get better. Like I say, knowing I wasn't going to be able to get it to look exactly like that, but if I could get it to look close to what that looked like, then I felt like I was getting better. And that's how I gauge how I increased my skill set. And I stayed working on that a lot, like to no end. And it was almost kind of like, it felt like an addiction, because that's how hungry I was for it, and how much I wanted to be at that next level with how my haircuts look. Now, here's something that I want people to listen to me and really pay attention. So I don't know where this came from, and it probably has something to do with the whole social media thing, but fresh out of school, and I pay attention to a lot of barbers who were in school, and when they come fresh out of school, it's like, and this is with no clientele or nothing, like everybody automatically assumes that they have a brand. Who are you selling to? Like, what is your brand? What type of skin in the game do you have to be able to sell something to somebody? Like, you are an unknown person fresh out of school. And what you should be thinking about is building clientele first and then try to incorporate a brand into it. But fresh out of school, everybody want to be a brand, and they go slapping the logo on a t-shirt. Now you want to sell t-shirts. Like, who are you selling stuff to? How are you selling? What are they buying? What likability they buy? You think people just gonna purchase your stuff just because they like you? People absolutely buy into people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that's not how it goes. People buy into people, but what do you have fresh out of school for people to buy into where you feel like you can establish a brand fresh out of school? What are they supporting? What do you have that they support like immediately? Nothing. You don't have nothing to offer them but your practices. So all you have to offer at that point is showing people that you are good at what you do and how you could get better at what you do. Coming fresh out of school, trying to be a brand and trying to sell somebody on something other than the fact that, you know, you now have this license to continue practicing. Because when you get a license, that don't mean nothing but you're licensed to practice legally. That's what you're able to do. You're able to practice this thing that we do legally now as a profession. So work on that. Put the brand stuff to the side until you learn a little bit more about the business and what it takes. And then you go from there. Don't come straight out of school thinking you can brand yourself, because you're going to set yourself up for a huge disappointment, and it can cause you to be discouraged and not even want to do it no more. So take your time, man. Like I say, take baby steps in this. Don't get fooled by everything that you see. All you see is not real. Keep the education at the forefront of your mind, because learning is earning. Let me say that again. Learning is earning. The more you learn, the more you're able to earn. So incorporate as much information as you can, ball that up, and then later on down the line, you can have something to brand. When people get to see you, they get to know you, they get to know your story, they get to know your personality, and then you could work on having a brand. But don't worry about that just yet. It's not your time to focus on that. The only thing you should be focusing on as a young or up and coming barber is getting better, getting them reps up, and learning the business. And the more you learn the business later on down the line, you could watch all of those things unfold and come into play in a way like you never imagined, or even better than you imagined. So that's really all I have for this one. I ain't want to keep y'all long. It's just some stuff that came across the chat, and I wanted to put it out there and give you my thoughts on it. So I hope y'all could take something away from this. I hope I wasn't stepping on any toes. And if I did, I hope it was to make you better and not bitter. So I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
This what they want, huh? This what they want, huh? I'll be the one to give it to them.